It's 8:24. It's Friday, October 27, and first off, we want to apologize once again for the fact that the news package this morning was late. That I was due to some technical difficulties beyond our control, but we've gotten that out of the way, and Island Tea is on. So yeah, once again, apologies to our listeners. These things happen from time to time. And like I said, technical difficulties beyond our control. Computers will just do what they want to do, and you just gotta clean up afterwards, right? AZ.
Yes.
My man.
How is everybody doing? It's
Michelina. What's up?
Hi, Jamster.
So we're here. So let me say a pleasant morning to everybody. I have in studio with us, with Jamster and myself, we have Michelina. Michelina is going to be a guest host this morning for this morning's program. So I want to say welcome, Michelina. I know you were here on Island Tea as a guest, and now you're in the capacity as guest host. So I want to say a pleasant morning, welcome. I'm hoping, and I see you brought your own tea.
I did bring my own tea.
But how do you know it's tea?
Because it's tea. There's no alcohol in my cup. There's tea.
I never said there was alcohol.
But we have to just make it clear. It's morning. There's no little alcohol. It's just some tea.
Hey,
Good tea.
nothing wrong with a little carrot blue.
Yeah.
No,
Get
but that's
the
like
Friday morning started, man.
afternoon.
I know, I'm just joking.
Yes.
I'm a good teacher citizen.
Awesome. So guys, so many things have been happening. I mean, just yesterday we had the press conference for the People's Labour Party. This morning we're supposed to have in studio with us former principal of the Bastille High School, Miss Colleen Morton. In fact, there was a statement made by Dr. Martin on last week's episode of, I think, on Freedom FM Groundings. And Mrs. Morton would be here in studio to discuss the Bastille High School and discuss the statement made. I encourage listeners to stay tuned. She's going to be here at 9 a.m. And so we are going to have a very fruitful, interesting discussion. The Bastille High School has been a topic which has created much taboo. Persons are wondering, were there symptoms? Did anything really happen? We know that the former administration made plans to build the Bastille High School in a different location. We know that the current administration is saying, no, there's nothing wrong with the location where the Bastille High School sat. And so we are going to have a discussion with the former principal of the Bastille High School, Mrs. Colleen Henry Morton. And so I am waiting. I know it's a lot of information to be shared. But before we go into that, there was the conference of the People's Labour Party under the leadership of Dr. Timothy Harris, Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris. And I know we have a clip that really summarized in 4 minutes what took place. So we're going to allow that clip to be aired, and then after that we could give in our own, what our takeaways are, and invite callers to call in and give their views. So we're going to... So the People's Labour Party, is one of the opposition parties here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
I just call it Uncle Timo Party. Uncle Timo. That's what I call him. He's like Uncle Timo. I think, he's been a politician for so long. So it's Uncle Dougie and Uncle Timo. I love politics. I know most people be like, oh, no, me into politics. I love politics because I love community and I love people, and politics is the thing that shapes the policies and the laws and what governs us. It's very
correct.
And so I love
and what people
political engagement.
And what people confuse is partisan politics with politics when it comes to policy. So we could
and bettering the lives of
exactly.
people.
So we could discuss policy. But when you start to discuss policy, people say, but you're too political. Everything is politics. When they really want to say, let's not discuss partisan politics.
I think all of it is relevant. And as good citizens, as a Michelina of this country, it is my responsibility to discuss it. It is my responsibility to be a part of that social dialogue, and where it is missing, to start that social dialogue, because I'm responsible for building my country. I have chosen a sector, education. That's what my expertise is. In the meantime, in this season, my responsibility is to make connections between education and infrastructure and tourism, and bring the value and the needs of education to the forefront. So politics, it refers to community and education, and care is important for me.
And politics and policy affects us all. And if it affects us all, why not speak about it? And so we're going to have the...
Before we go, you said something just now, which, when you think about it, separating policy or critic of policy aside from partisan politics.
Yeah.
I mean, take for example, God gave us the largest organ in the body. Could you imagine? Think about this. If I put a lit cigarette on my skin, what if there was no what if there were no pain receptors, and then the consequent response to the pain, and you take away? That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. If the politicians do nonsense, we are going to speak about it. If they do good, we're going to speak about it.
And I think I would like to respectfully disagree with Azard. It is my responsibility to talk about party politics. If I'm affiliated with a party, I am a steward of that party.
When it's appropriate, absolutely.
All the time, not when it's appropriate. I just say I pay my money. I'm a member. And my responsibility to membership is to contribute. And my contribution will be determined by me as well. So you will not put me in my place and tell me what I can and cannot speak about.
Amen.
The time of those things are
Amen.
over.
I mean, take for example, we had the farmers on again this week, and then I told you I had people texting me again saying, "Oh, here we go again with the political." And I'm like, how is it political? They're just coming and talking.
So what if it is political?
No, meaning, the partisan thing. That's
what I'm saying, we need to get to the point in sync society and national conversation. So what if it is political? If it is a political matter, it is a political matter. If you choose to bring the lens of politics to the matter, then bring the lens of politics to the matter. We need to stop telling people how to think and what is appropriate to think and what is appropriate to say. The dialogue belongs to all of us, and all of our contributions matter. As a teacher, I think it is my responsibility, and I know my responsibility seems a bit arrogant and narcissistic, but it is a privilege to make people understand.
No, it doesn't.
No, but hearing it and it's my responsibility. It's a privilege.
Everyone has to take responsibility for their own their own civic
engagement.
Exactly, right.
And as a teacher, I have the gift, or I'm developing the gifts. I have the gift. Well, bossy, I have the gift of helping people to understand complex ideas, understand community, understand policies, understand laws. Because the children look to me and the community look to me and they'll be like, knowledge, dissemination, how to help me understand.
Yeah.
That is my job as
Precisely.
an educator.
And I love the discussion that we're having here, because so often you find people afraid to speak. And we live in a society
there's consequence, Azard.
Yeah,
there's
there
consequence.
really is.
Me and you could be any consequence. We don't make up, we can't back. But let's just give some people grace. There is consequence for being an Azard and for being a Michelina. There are doors that they try to lock. There are things we would not get. We naming and make a short list.
Exactly.
There is real consequences.
And there's there's acceptance that there are going to be consequences. But despite the consequences, we are still going to speak on issues that affect us all.
Because I love my country. I love my country. So as the old people say, I don't make up my cat back. I choose to be who I am. My two highest values are courage and faith. And courage means I have to show up. If I'm going to say that courage is a value of mine and I'm going to live my value, it means understanding the consequences and doing what is right is important for me to do, because I am making the right decision, and the right decision for this 5 years might have this consequence. But I'm building my credibility. I'm building my voice. I'm building trust with the audience who are listening that says, I really like the Michelina girl, you know, but she's talking sense. What's she saying today?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
A lot of people, that is often the comment. Somebody
Yeah.
may say, well, I don't really like him. I don't really like her. But what she or he is saying
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, she feel me really like her, you know, she little auntie, but she does she feel. You see that gift? She feel or she making sense? That's worth it.
That's priceless.
That reminds me, there's a Bungie Garlin song from a few years ago where he talked about that same thing, like how you could just get up and decide you don't like somebody, and then
His spirit
and
ain't take
Bungie
you.
and Bungie is doing the lawyer thing. He's like, well, let's catalog the things that you don't like and why you don't like, and at the end of it is basically, oh, I just don't like.
My spirit ain't take you.
to bring this
Caribbean
up.
Palantis, my spirit ain't take you.
And so that is going to be there. But I like what you said, and I like the fact that you said, regardless whether or not the person likes you, when you make a point, at least when you make that point, it's done at a neutral stance, one of fairness, and so it's seen objectively, and so no one could really discredit the point that you're making. And so all of this discussion is necessary.
And
Okay, time for Timmy.
let's go,
Yeah.
Uncle Timo.
Let's go.
Uncle Timo.
Uncle
Let's
Timo.
listen to Uncle Timo.
Let's go. Okay, here we go.
CBI program is a subject matter under the office of the Prime Minister. So it is an extension of that office. And importantly, I make the point, by our laws, only the Prime Minister can sign the citizenship of registration, which allows you to get your passport. So the Prime Minister would know. And he only needs to request it because he's asking you to do his job. He has a press conference. He must come prepared to address any subject matter under his portfolio. And it is quite possible that at times he may not have all the information. His job is to get it. And repeatedly people go, so you prepare. Mr. Such and such, could you send me, I'm having a press conference, could you send me the statistics just in case somebody asks? And in a new day and a better way, you wouldn't even have to ask. As the CEO said recently, as part of the Shaman mockery, these statistics are important, so why not make them available? Arithmetic not so difficult, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When the applications come in up there, you sign them in, you know how many. When they send them down to the Prime Minister office to be signed, they are recorded in the office of the Prime Minister, and they are recorded in the books of the sender. Prime Minister is attempting to be too smart, and is outsmarting himself because you are not being fooled. Why is he wasting the media time to say, go and ask the CBI, which you should know? Because they can't have a COR unless you sign it. They prepare it and it comes to you blank. When I say blank, without the signature, to give it the authority to be executed and to be acted upon, and you sign and you stamp it. So he's playing a cat and mouse game, unfortunately, with something so critical. And that is why in 2014, the same smartness was being tried, and they got caught. And then we had the burden of trying to track over 15,000 passports, which in the smartness they issued and they take out which country the people were from. These things have a way of catching up on you. So he must come prepared, and you all must say that to him. Prime Minister, you are the minister responsible for the citizenship program. You must come with the information because we've been asking you so repeatedly. And one of the things I used to do, sometimes they criticize, I call the head of departments that I think were critical. Because, for example, in a policing matter, certain matters, they are sensitive, they are criminal investigation, and I have to be careful not to interfere in the process. So I would bring Mr. Brandy, he will know the length at which to go. Once I call him, he's a professional. He know what he can say without interfering the investigation. So let him speak on that. My job is to make sure they're doing their work properly.
Thank you for joining us on KN Whoop. I am Carissa Cable, affectionately known as Candy. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was one of the clips. Also, too, in addition to what was played, and I'm going to ask Michelina if there's any comment you want to make on what was played. In addition to, there was a whole conference. That clip only captured part of the conference. There are a number of issues that were raised at the conference. I can remember the PLP speaking about agriculture and farmers, the travel for the ministers. I could recall the chairperson making comments on the behavior of the ambassador, Leonata, the lack of information as it surrounds our UN ambassador and the situation that happened. And so many things were in discussion at that conference. What were 3 things that stood out to you from that conference? In addition, if you want to make any comments on what was just played.
I had the opportunity to watch the press release. And before I watched the press release, I'm saying it's Niaga Business's cultural practice of talk. We were in our little silos discussing it. Most of the young comrades seem to be a bit upset with the existence of Timo. I haven't quite gotten to why we are upset yet. What I like, I'm a visual person. What I really appreciate about PLP, and I think that they are leading, is their branding is impeccable. You notice when PLP is out there, whoever is doing their branding, it is always orange and white. The logo on the media is clear. We know who we are talking to and who's talking to us. I absolutely love their branding. Whoever is responsible for that committee, brilliant par excellence. I have had the opportunity to witness Uncle Timo over the years, and I think he's somewhat either hitting his peak as a politician or in his peak. He has been strategically silent and choosing when to speak. And I think as a leader in this country, because he is a leader in this country, it's quite exhilarating to hear the hush and then, have him come out and speak. What I like about his presentation, the English teacher in me, the communication specialist in me, is that the depth and width of his presentation is quite intelligent. And he is challenging us to ask questions intelligently. I was in another group of independent thinkers, and they was like, yeah, Michelina is great. It's, it's brilliant, but them things don't win elections. And I was like, just brought back down to touch the grass. What I love about his presentation, and whoever is responsible for his speech writing and his research, kudos to you, you deserve a gold star, is the ability for his rhetoric to be people-centered. And so the livable wage, he spoke about, yes, the present government, the administration, my good Labour Party, they said they would increase the minimum wage. We are working to increase the minimum wage. 14 months after, there is nothing. Mm-hmm. But the cost of living, everybody is feeling it. And so when you would have had 14 months to deliver, there is nothing delivered. You could tell me that people are working, but today is Friday and today is payday, and I have to deal with the consequences of my purchasing power becoming weaker and weaker and weaker, and the demands to purchases increase. Like when he said that, you kind of go like, oh, all right, okay. And there was a number given, $500 increase. And as he just said, arithmetic is very easy. And he said, no, according to our personnel from the Labor Department, it must be $575 for us to have a decent living wage. And there are family members of mine who have children who are working at minimum wage. And it is very hard. It's unconscionable that the price to live, the price to buy food, to buy shoes. Now, children could wear braids, so you want your child to be comfortable with their peers, and you have to provide more. You have to provide classes. You have to, what he said, pay for the basic amenities, the increase in skeleton bill, water not there, the frustration to live. It's horrible, but the minimum wage, and you would have had 14 months. We're delivering on all kinds of things, but this is something that is affecting the lives of the poor and the new category, the ultra poor. But there has not been a deliverable. That kind of hit me hard because community is something that is important for me. And I'm not on minimum wage, but I'm a teacher, which means I don't make a lot of money. And if I'm a teacher with, I'm a trained graduate teacher with a master's degree, and it's hard for me. I don't have any children. I don't have any husband, and it is hard for me. I am struggling to save. I'm negotiating to go to the bank to build. I should be a perfect candidate, but it is hard because I am the one now that has to supply and source those family members and children who are living on working for the minimum wage.
And that is one point that you have made, and this is why I often say that we ought to make politicians accountable to what they say on the platform, especially during elections. During the elections, the Labour Party indicated...
good Labour Party.
They indicated that $500 would be the standing point for the minimum wage. And then one has to consider, when the discussions are being had, the number of factors, the number of things that are to be considered. And so we know that $500, even though it sounds good and we will want persons to get $500, you look at the business sector, the small businesses, because if it's at $500, then even small businesses would have to pay their employees the minimum wage. So we understand that there is an approach that must be taken, consultation that must be had. And we understand that it is not just an easy process. But what I am gathering is that oftentimes politicians go, they make promises on the platform, and then afterwards they say, well, I didn't understand is all of these things we have to do.
They don't say that, they say working. We're working on it.
We're working on
it.
And as you have said, even now, 14 months after, there is no resolution. There is nothing to show. And so at the end of the day, we have to make sure that when we are electing politicians on what they are promising us, that they deliver the promises and don't tell me, well, I didn't know that was all about, it was all about this or it was all about that, because at the time we bought in what you were saying on the premise that you knew what you were saying and that you will have done some background research as to what was necessary and whether or not this goal that you want us to meet is indeed practical.
I think it's more than the high language and the high theory of it. We need to get our leaders and ourselves connected to the realities of people again. Because if you understood what it is like to work for $300 and something a week and have a family to provide for, have a child to provide for, have rent to pay, if you understood what that felt like, getting up and laboring, and then at the end of the month, at the end of the week, receiving not enough, that connection with not enough, when you can compassionately connect to the not change, I think it would invoke some sort of change, because another thing Uncle Timo spoke to was the notion of the consistent and frequent travel. And I know that has been a part of the national discussion for quite some time, you know. Our leaders are traveling, they're partying abroad. You see these extravagant pictures. But the country has real problems that need solving. And you are not here. You are not here long enough to make meaningful impact. And something else he said, which really made me understood and vexed me a little bit, is when our leaders travel, they receive per diem, meals are paid for. So we have a situation where the livable wage doesn't allow for decent living and accessibility to just good life, health. But our leaders are taking home so much. And then every time they're not here, they're receiving a bonus and a benefit. And then you are constantly leaving. It's hard.
And we understand that ministers would have to travel.
You have to travel, yes.
But
you have to
it
travel.
has happened to such magnitude that it is now obvious to us that the travel is at a grand high. For example,
I think the pictures. The other day I saw a picture with them like in a spinning box. I was like, why do you need the picture? Like, why do you... what I don't think they connect to is that sometimes the pictures is like a slap in the face. Main thing, they understand that like life is hard for everybody globally. Saying it's ain't special. But when you put your extravagance next to the ordinary suffering, it is as if you're like almost tone deaf.
And this is what I say often. It's as though in 2022, we elected kings and queens, not representatives. We elected a royal family of persons who do not consult, who take trips at abundance, and lavish their lifestyle
the money
in front
for
of
the
our
trip them
faces.
is what is when Uncle Tim said, I was like, did this get so much money?
So it's at the end of the day, we feel as though, I like to say, it's as though the country of St. Kitts and Nevis, although we are not, we don't have a royal family here present, it's as though we elected a royal family in the sense that persons, our representatives, they are traveling. You can't say nay or yea as to what they're doing, and you are to be silent and just...
This silence is not what bothers me. What bothers me about the travel is I don't see how we're making sense. They don't travel and, come back and say, well, the travel was for this, or this is as a result of. So it's like you're traveling, but there isn't transparency around the travel. There isn't development around the travel. There isn't innovation around the travel. So you took 5 trips for the year, and it was consultation for this, and it was, I don't see the benefit of my dollar. I don't see the return on investment.
And as you said, the only thing the thing that people are thinking is that every time they travel, the per diem. So the flights are paid for.
I wasn't thinking about it. It's when I listened to the press conference, I was like, what? So they're getting money to travel. They're getting money for meals. They're getting pocket change. And again, connecting to the reality of the ordinary citizen. When I leave classroom, because, my good government send me back in classroom, but that's another conversation. When I leave classroom and I type up something on my laptop and I make the trip, and God has me witness those ladies for the Benjamin Copying Center. I forget the name. And I go down there to spend $20 or $25 to copy some papers for my classroom. Like, my trips have meaningful impact. I'm making a change, and it is costing me something. I have to walk down the road with my backpack, sometimes get wet, sometimes go over by the Salvation Army to get some Wi-Fi. And so my travel, which is directly impacting education, is costing me financially, it's costing me physically, and I can see the return on investment. but it is costing me. you hear I say when I can't remember the name of the copying center, but it's those ladies for, Pastor Benjamin. I go there, and I'm there so frequent now. They be like, teacher, what you send for us to print? Sometimes they give me a little, old folder to recycle to make me feel good. Teacher, you good? And so there are lots of us who are dipping into our personal pockets, dipping into our resources to add value to country, to add value to sector. And 85% increase me can't manage. I think we need to connect to what it takes to run a country as the ordinary citizens, the sacrifices that we are making, the mothers who are in office after 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, sacrificing time with family and husband to make a contribution to the system in a way that the system works. Go ahead, Azard.
Yeah, yes.
Sure.
Go
ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Azard,
Yes.
that young lady, she's very rounded. Are you young? That's how I like to hear these young minds, Azard and Jamstone. And I hope she could get into a lot more. You are going to invite her because that lady make me feel so good. I hear around me table trying to eat my breakfast and I can't move. It's so nice. And I love she takes. She said one thing jump out to me while I was in the bath. Turn up my radio and I went in my bath to have my shower. And she talked about the politics. The way how some people think it's just take a person when they're talking country issues, politics. People vexing you. People vexing you. The parties and it's the politicians. Some of the politicians them got it so. And then just that, it's that long time. And we young people gonna bang it down. We gonna fight against it. Young lady, teacher, I would like to meet you. You sound nice. I'm a custodian of politics. I love politics.
I too.
Because politics is food, infrastructure, development, and life. And if we continue the way you like to talk politics, we ain't going to country soon. If we're holding people, we sending to a street accountable.
Yes.
This is how we want to hear prime ministers talk. Let's take us like a football and a football field. We want to know the truth. And then one more thing before I go. And give me a break, Jamstone. Whoever that politician in the government presently right now, they cannot go out when they think it's golf course, go build a condo. Otherwise, we're going to demonstrate the entire bed. Big bed. You got to know your place with us. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Jamdong. Thank you for your contribution. And there's someone on the Facebook page who is saying, Azard, Pam was a part of Unity for 7 years. They did nothing to increase the minimum wage. And, that comment was made. And I get the comment made. But oftentimes I think about it, we need to contextualize things. During the time that Unity was empowered during that 7 years, the cost of living wasn't as it is now. In fact, there were increases based on 2014, I think, where then Labour Party would have promised a 10% increase for civil servants. So it was to civil servants, and I think it was gradually given until the 10% was at its max. We realized that there were social programs put in place, like the PAP, to alleviate certain circumstances that persons were suffering, economic and social circumstances. And we realized that after COVID, things have increased. The price of the price of sardine now is $4.60. Back in the time Unity post 2020, it was 2 something. And so situations
almost 100% increase.
So situations have changed. So oftentimes when people go back to what the past is without recognizing what the present is, I often say we need to put things in context. And also, this was a promise that was given. Oh, sorry.
I thought you heard
Yes,
me.
sorry.
Okay. Caller,
we have a caller.
859. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning,
Good
everybody.
morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes,
Good
sorry about that
morning.
caller. Sorry, Jamso.
Oh, no problem at all, man. I'm good with that, man. No, it's early in the morning. Really,
Yes.
man, this discussion is really good, man. And I want to follow up on that caller and really big up that young lady in the studio. You know what I mean? You know, these are the type of people that we need to come forward, man. We need people like this to come forward and get involved. You know, Miss, I just want to say, you know, I love to hear your voice and love to hear what you're talking today. And, you know, such persons, they have a lot of people in the Federation like this young lady. And we need to have these people come forward. You know, we have an opposition, and the opposition in the parliament, I don't think they tabled any motions yet. All the motions that have been tabled in the parliament has been coming from the government. And, you know, me, I have my own personal observation. My personal observation is that the politics should be like sports. Some people don't have no sportsmanship. You know what I mean? If their party is not in power, in control, they don't feel good at all. But it's a contest. Somebody must win and somebody must lose. When you win or lose, you got to put country above self. And we got to stop looking in the rearview mirror and govern after when the politics season, when the election is over and somebody win or lose, it's time to move on from the election. You know, it's time to govern the country and push the country in the right direction. But I like this lady here that's talking this morning, man. This is a healthy discussion, and the phone should be ringing off the hook right now. You know, all those consistent callers that be calling in, they need to be calling and voice their opinion this morning. This is the type of discussion we need to have. And Azard, man, you know, keep your ears open, bro. A lot of people is looking at you as well.
Thank you so
You know,
much.
you might have to try to step up, man. And the young lady in the studio, I have two questions for her. Is one on the CBI, right? I wanted to ask the young lady to get her take and on the disbursement from the CBI. How should she think that money should be dispersed to individuals or to the development of the country? And also the issues, when the issues come to the national issues that come to the table, to separate the partisan politics and stuff like that. When the issues come up, you know, what she can say to us about like having peaceful protests in the street so that the citizens can hold the politicians them accountable. And I'll keep listening off the air, man. I got much more to say, man, but I just want to give this lady some kudos today. And you guys have a good day, man.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you for your contribution. Michelina? Oh, we have another call. We have another caller. Caller, you're live on Island T.
Good morning, Jamson. Good morning, Azard.
Good morning. How are you? And we have another person here. We have our guest host, Michelina Charles Hazel.
This politics?
Yes.
Good morning, my friend.
All right, good morning, good morning. I know that you always true patriot to this country and an educator as a young lady. I always interact with you
Yes,
when I meet you.
politics.
Actually, sometimes the politics. And you really know your thing. And I just want to commend you for what you're doing right now. Because, you know, you need more young people like you, especially young women, to come out and say what they got to say and do what they got to do. Because the future held in the young people and in your hands. You know, and if we let you all go astray and ignore you all, we wouldn't have a good country with you all brilliancy and with you all idea you all coming with. And I hope some of these politicians in government listening to you right now, because this is what we want. Young people come forward and share the views, the knowledge, because only you and the country together and the grown-ups together will make the people them feel satisfied with what government is doing. Anyway, you have a wonderful day, my friend.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. And I just want persons to know that we have with us in studio here the former principal of the Bastia High School, Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton. And we are going to be discussing the Bastia High School, an issue that has been considered taboo for some time. And I said taboo because there are so many stories that are circulating about the Bastia High School. And it's time for us to hear the truth as it relates to the Bastia High School and the situation there that existed. And before we go into that, we're going to take a short break. So I'm encouraging persons to stick and stay. Short break, we acknowledge our sponsors, and we'll get back to you.
Found the sound, 98.9.
Dreaming of that perfect getaway? Hop aboard the Makana Ferry to the breathtaking islands of Seba, Statia, St. Martin, and St. Kitts. Embark on a delightful journey and enjoy sun-kissed beaches, vibrant cultures, and unforgettable experiences. Visit MakanaFerryService.com to book your island hopping adventure today.
It's Candisie for me, Candisie for we. Neighbor, partner, your family. The best is yet to come, believe me. Moving forward, moving with. Hey, Candisie serve the nation with the best customer experience. Candisie, you are the one for we. Happy anniversary. Together we succeed, building on strong community, pressing on forward to one destiny. One love, one family. Together we succeed. Let the whole world see. Yes, this is 50.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're joined by our guest, Carleen Henry Morton. And of course, we have our guest host, Michelina, on board. Easy, my man.
Yes. And so we have with said, and so we're going into the Bastia High School situation. We know
Before
that.
we go in, Azard, as an educator, I would call myself a junior educator. Next to the stalwart we have here, you know, we're still in October. On October 5th, we celebrated teachers, educators globally in St. Nevis. And so when we have a giant of a woman who has made a stellar contribution to education, we need to say things like she has contributed to the service of education and academic development and people development.
Yeah.
So St. Kitts and Nevis, we can't just allow this stalwart of a woman to come in here and jump into the Bastia High School issue in the month of October. In the month of October, particularly on the 5th, but I say every day and every day after it, we celebrated World Teachers Day. And Miss Morton has contributed 33 years. Azard, you're 33?
34. Oh, wow, Miss Morton.
Okay. So
when
she
I put
has
it in context.
Hello. We must give honor where it is due. So 33 years of service to nation building in the realm of education. Do you know how much young minds, old minds, how she has informed and impacted the country with 33 years of service in classroom, in education administration, when you don't teach one class? And she's a language teacher, which means she had whole English class to teach and marking papers. When you have contributed and done that work on the ground level, it is many congratulations and thank you for that service. Thank you for your contribution. We appreciate 33 years 23 years at the Bastia High School, some of our country's citizens have not lived to see 23 years.
That
a
is
lot
so
of
true.
who we consider young and contributing are not 23 years as yet. And so with 23 years of service to an institution, we call you a lifer. Thank you for that as well. And principal, from 2010 to 2015, you have ran the race, made an excellent contribution, and here to continue to make that contribution. Thank you for being with us. Happy Teachers Celebration. Let's go.
Thank you very much, Michelina, and thank you so much for acknowledging my years. But I want to say that it didn't seem like work, and I know you all know that saying because I thoroughly enjoyed my years of teaching. I was born to be a teacher. I know that in my heart,
Jesus' name.
and I loved every minute of it, even the challenging times, because it forced you to be very creative, to be very innovative, and so on. So
I used to like when you have on this skirt. That is when I fell in love with you. She used to wear the Stormer skirt and come in front of she school with the bell and the yellow and the blue.
Oh, yes.
When I saw her, I've never seen a principal like that. Like, these is my people, and I in front, and like we go a lead in.
And you know, every competition, it was that bell.
Yes, the bell. But no, I did like this skirt and the yellow and blue socks is like, she's here with heart, not just authority, but she led with heart. And so when you have a leader that models the behavior you want to see in your team and your children, done with it. In the road, you know?
but I think that you have summed up for me, Michelina, the topic that we are about to discuss today. You're going to appreciate it, and people would appreciate the passion and the heart and the determination and so on that I brought to that matter. And not just I brought to that matter, that the team at Bastia High School brought to that matter, the management team, the teachers, the parents, the students, and so on, because we knew that what was happening was real. And so, you know, when it was disrespectful and hurtful and insensitive and so on to watch people in their faces who are physically manifesting all kinds of symptoms and to tell them that you're making it up. It's psychological. In other words, in our local parlance, you're crazy. Or
And hush.
you're telling lies.
And hush.
You have some ulterior motive,
Exactly.
some agenda, and so on. So I think that has opened the discussion for us.
And that is the discussion that we were having just earlier about when you're speaking out, persons say, oh, it's politics, hush your mouth, you ain't supposed to talk, these ain't issues you want to talk about, you're being negative. When you're just being real and you're just expressing what is happening in the community.
Of course.
And so we have a clip based on a statement that was made just last week on Freedom FM by Dr. Martin, and a caller called in and asked about the Bastia High School, and we're going to hear that. So give some context
Right.
to the discussion that
Yes.
we're having
Situate
here
it
this week.
first,
Yes. Okay, and so as we continue, because the Bastia High School has been a topic of discussion for 7 years, more than 7 years. In fact, during the time of the build-up when it came to all what was happening about the Bastia High School. And so now it's time again for us to discuss it. And so we have the clip and we're going to have it aired.
Okay.
Nobody discussed about the Bastia High School.
What about the Bastia High School?
Well, you know, our Deputy Prime Minister,
Yeah, he said that he was going to bring it back, yeah.
yes, he's going to build it back on the same ground. But, Junie, we all have to face the fact something there is not settled.
Something weird.
At the Bastia High School is not settled.
What is it?
We had two organizations come in here, and they did not find what was causing the problem there. Why the school
Because there was no
shut down
problem.
twice.
Because there was no problem.
So why the school had to shut down twice? Dr.
It was a manufactured issue, sir.
Oh, it was a manufactured issue. So all those people manufactured those things. All those doctors manufactured.
Which
those
doctors?
results.
Which doctors are you talking about?
All the doctors that those people, students and teachers.
No. I was chief medical officer at the time.
Yes,
so
I know.
Yeah. Oh, so
remember
what's the
I
question?
worked under you?
So what's no? You didn't work under me. Nobody worked under
I
anybody.
walk along
So
with
what's
you.
the question you have for me about doctors reporting?
The question is, all those students and teachers manufactured their sickness.
There was no doctor reports of substance filed with the chief medical officer's office.
Dr. Marty, you really serious saying that today on the radio?
You want me to repeat it in French?
Repeat it in any language, but you cannot be serious with what you just said, dear Dr. Martin.
Oh, so you know something differently then?
Tell us.
If you know something differently, feel free to correct it.
You can't be serious.
No, goodness.
All
All
I'm
right.
saying is
You
that
can't be serious. It's not a correction.
let us bring in an organization to test up there before we
That was already done. That was already done. Three organizations: local, regional, international.
There is work to be done.
Oh, okay. So you're not accepting the reports. Okay. All right.
Thank you for joining us on KN Whoop.
Okay. So a lot was said
Right.
there.
Well, Dr. Martin invited the caller, since he knows differently, to say what he knows. Well, I will take up that challenge because I know differently. And Dr. Martin knows differently too. I don't know what is the agenda. I don't know what is the motive. If Dr. Martin does not know differently, perhaps there's a crisis of memory taking place, or perhaps a crisis of credibility. I really don't know. But I know better, and I will talk today, and whenever I'm called upon to talk about the Bastia High School, in an informed and knowledgeable way. When I heard the clip, because it was being circulated, I said, well, the BHS crisis, the conspiracy theorists are back on their campaign that, you know, they're trying to mislead, to misinform, and to minimize. That is what so
I
sad.
got.
Look at the sarcasm. You want me to tell you in French, and the laughing in the
To me,
background
it
and so
wasn't
on.
sarcasm, it was condescension. It was somebody that you don't acknowledge their status and academic
gaslighting.
credential to you.
It's what young people call today
Yes.
gaslighting. And all of that is intended to intimidate people and to shut them down so that a topic that perhaps you want to put to bed, people are afraid to call in and talk about it because they say, you hear how he handle up so and so? Let me pull myself to the side and hush. Okay? But I can tell you that Bastia High School situation gripped not just the Bastia High School, but the entire nation from 2011 to 2014. And the sad saga, it was brought to an end. Something that took years, the back and forth and the impasse, was brought to an end in a matter of days by the arbitration panel. The arbitration panel, thank God that we still have people of credibility, people who are empathetic, people who can show compassion, people who understand that every challenge that we have in life has a human element to it.
And the arbitration panel consists of who?
The arbitration, I don't know if I'm at liberty to call any names right
okay.
now.
That's fine.
But there were 4 persons, maybe at a later date, once I can legally check out. I mean, you're a lawyer.
Yes.
But once we could have had that,
Yes.
you know, that this would have had that discussion. But those 4 persons, 2 of them at least, were nominated. I am so angry. I'm still trembling.
Yes.
2 of them were nominated by the government. One by the St. Kitts Teachers Union, and I think one other person was a medical practitioner. And the recommendation unanimously, and I'm going to read the recommendation. I have the document here. So I think I should read it from the document
Yes.
that I don't, and I want you all to see that this is it here, findings and award and so on, so that you all can see that I'm not making up anything.
Okay.
It's a whole list of them. But the substantive matter, that the students and teachers of the Bastia High School, BHS, be removed from that facility with immediate effect in order to alleviate the ongoing impact on the health and safety of all concerned. That a shift system be implemented with a facility sharing arrangement with the Washington Archibald High School, WAHS, with immediate effect. Now, in the background, you all would have heard some voices talking about reports that were written. 3 different things came. Well, let me tell you, the arbitration panel reviewed in a comprehensive way, deep dive, all of those reports, all. And they also went on to talk to parents and teachers and things. That was the element, that humanity, that empathy, that compassion. You can't rely on just documents. As a matter of fact, one of the arbiters said, and it remains with me, we do not want anybody to walk away with the delusion that it is just about the roof. And the roof is just the all-encompassing word for the physical environment. You cannot eliminate human suffering. All of those symptoms are attached to people.
What I find very interesting for me, I'm doing a leadership course, and leaders are stewards. That means you are responsible to serve, you're responsible to bring forth. And my name is Michelina, and I go to therapy. Sometimes I go to couples therapy. Sorry, Colin, for out in your business. And I am always right to tell the therapist. I is one of them. I can tell Dr. Pereira because you do this, and when we get to couples therapy, and I'm right, I'm morally right. What the therapist does is that she says, I understand your perspective, Michelina, but it is not about right. Are you listening to your partner? Because what he's saying is of value. And though you have a perspective, you cannot be right and wrong. And I think that is what is missing, the humanity. It is very inhumane to tell people that their perspective and their feelings, their experience in an institution and with a suffering is manufactured. And as leaders and as stewards, we have a responsibility to acknowledge. You might not agree, you might not like it, but your duty as a steward is to make people feel heard, seen, and safe.
But more than that, Michelina, this is just me, Carleen, I feel. This is a medical practitioner who I would believe.
I put a leader over.
But I'm going to say why I say medical practitioner. Medical practitioners take what is called the Hippocratic Oath.
Yes.
And I read that oath. And that oath said that you have to remember that you are not just treating a cancerous growth or a fever chart. You're treating a human person, an individual with families. And that you must bear in mind that their illness affects not just the person, but the person's ability to earn economically and all
their
of the
mental
other things.
health.
Yes.
So even if they think that something is wrong, their mental health is being
But that
affected.
goes beyond, because as I get into my presentation, we are going to find that it was not limited to just people psychologically experiencing things.
That
So
was,
if
that
I
was
may.
medical
I
evidence.
think I should point out too that, I mean, anybody versed in the sciences know that their very existence and practice is based on evidence.
And we have evidence. We have evidence. But what is happening is that some persons are choosing to selectively read portions of the different reports that we have. But let me get into this.
Yes.
Because not only was Dr. Martin's behavior distasteful, because you don't have a call-in program, wanting people to call in. And then when people call in, because they're not saying what you want to hear, you insult them. So it was distasteful. It was deplorable. It was disgraceful. But I'm going to focus on the word manufactured. Let's focus on the word manufactured. Leave the rest of that for now. And I'm going to tell you why the word manufactured I found to be very
unkind.
Interesting.
Unkind.
Let's use the word interesting, right? A word to be used by Dr. Martin. One, if you say that the symptoms and everything were manufactured, What Dr. Martin is actually saying is that 16 plus of his colleagues, he said he didn't receive any reports, and there's a reporting protocol and all of that. Well, he must ask himself why 16 plus of his colleagues treated over 40-something staff members from the Bastia High School. I'm not going to include the children. Let's just talk about the staff members for now. 40 plus staff members, but chose not to report to him. Could it be because he then knew he had adopted that particular position and things? So what am I going to say to you? You don't say nothing wrong up the school. Why am I going to send in anything to you for? Right? So that's one. So the word manufactured to me suggests that 16 plus of our medical practitioners colluded with all of these other persons who made up their symptoms and diagnosed them with real illnesses. The word manufactured also suggests that you are dismissing the same reporting mechanisms that they spoke about. Because I can tell you that those reports having a whole heap of findings about the scent of the water up at the Bastia High School. I have the documents here now, and I can read from page 48. Water quality in the biology and chemistry laboratories is suboptimal. This is the CARFA report, page 48, due to the high total coliform bacteria count. Right? Although counts do not pose a health risk, I'm going to make sure I say it. CARFA recommends that the water in these laboratories not be used for potable purposes. Now, it's one thing for somebody to come to an institution and you wash your hand with water that ain't really potable. But we're talking about children who are up there almost for the whole day. Even if you wash your hands several times in that water, the fact that it's not potable water, what is in there? They said that bacteria in the water. Would Dr. Martin want his children in any place where the people tell you that the water is suboptimal? And that is one of the guiding things. What you don't want for yourself, you don't do to others. That's a basic guiding principle in any religion. Right? Then they went on to say, same page, CARFA report, the results of the sample analyzed show that massive, and they put it in inverted commas, amounts of Stachybotrys chartarum, that is some kind of mold, were present on the sample tested from the theatre arts office, which is adjacent to the auditorium. Urgent medical attention is required to clear the room of this mold. So the students, I suppose, manufactured the mold or whatever and put it on the curtain. And, these are the kinds of things that are really bothersome. CARFA, I'm going to look for the thing, because CARFA themselves said that one of the things, the breakdown in communication is that people did not trust the authorities. The people did not trust the authorities.
CARFA said that?
CARFA said that. People did not trust the authorities. They felt marginalized. They felt stigmatized. They felt belittled. But all of that was on display last Friday. Hear the conduct. Hear the behavior in the background to a caller. And the laughing and so on. CARFA said that over 7 years ago. And today, we are still experiencing that type of behavior from persons who are supposed to be professionals. Right? So I said, you accusing manufactured is accusing your thing of being unethical, that they made up these things and the diagnoses and so on. You're dismissing CARFA and Cariri and ILO and Dr. Whitaker, Dr. Milton Whitaker. He was one of the first scientists, he's a local scientist, who was actually commissioned by the government to look into the Bastia High School matter. And I'm going to read for you what Dr. Whitaker wrote in 2012. That is to show you how long people were fooling around with this matter. Dr. Whitaker wrote, the ministry should be aware that staff members are reluctant to even enter the laboratories. Their concerns are not without justification. although some of the reported effects may be psychological, they have been affected physically. Unless the recommendations are implemented, because his report included recommendations, health concerns will not be minimized nor removed. The ministry should be sensitive to the potential health concerns in the daycare center, separated by a wire fence 2 meters away, because there was a daycare just over the fence from us. And teachers and students from that institution did begin to exhibit the same symptoms that the Bastia High School teachers and students and so on were exhibiting. Right? I want to share a letter from one of the teachers, right? Because after a while, especially in 2014, for the same reason that Dr. Martin is talking about, nobody was reporting and nobody was saying and nobody was so on and so on, which is a lie, because Dr. Martin attended practically all of the meetings that we would have had with parents and teachers and so on. He sat on the Bastia High School task force, right? And so he would have heard all of the complaints that the teachers were making. They were begging for intervention. Now, as a CMO, it is a cop-out. In my opinion, it is a dereliction of duty to say to people, I ain't doing nothing about the health concerns that people are expressing because the doctors would not write any reports. Because that is in effect what the CMO said. I was waiting to have it in black and white from the doctors. I hear it swirling around on the air. I saw it in the media. I know that there was all this upheaval and hoopla. But unless my colleagues write and say that there is a problem, I, the CMO, will not touch that.
And we have a culture where we have to be silent to survive.
Right.
And those that write are at risk of the consequences. And so sometimes it's hard.
I have a letter here. This is from a teacher. I'm not going to show the teacher's name, even though I have spoken to the teachers.
Yes.
But for now,
Key
it's
and
okay.
protection.
The teacher here is saying that she's on her 6th doctor. 6th. SIXTH. Because you say one, something, or she has a political motive. You see, you go to another one, or not her. You go to another one, or not him, and so on and so forth. She's on her 6th doctor.
Wow.
This is from a medical professional now, a doctor. And he was treating one of the teachers. And he said, over the last several weeks, her symptoms have recurred and she has significantly deteriorated, coinciding with her return to the work environment. So, because this is 24th September, so she was on vacation. And things seemed to have quietened down significantly and so on. But no sooner than she got back to work, the doctor wrote that. So Dr. Martin is saying that his own professional colleagues are telling lies. Okay? But I will read from a report that was written by Dr. Martin himself. This is Dr. Martin's report now on the Bastia High School matter. And it is on page 2, section C, titled Panel Findings and Recommendations. And I'm going to go to point 3. The Bastia High School Western Campus is over 60 years old. Deficient maintenance is the overriding issue. But he said nothing wrong with the school. Damp, moldy, and dusty indoor spaces were due to lack of maintenance, which caused the following. A, peeling concrete plaster resulting from water seepage into cracks and subsequent corrosion and expansion of the steel reinforcement in some areas. Labs in advanced state of disrepair with accumulation of dust and mold. Symptoms experienced by staff and students were also due. So he tells you here that there are symptoms.
Causes of the symptoms.
The symptoms experienced by staff and students were also due to the accumulation of sewer gases from defective sewer systems. This is Dr. Martin's report, right? See there? Office of the Chief Medical Officer, March 3rd, 2014, right? Patrick Martin, Chief Medical Officer.
So he himself.
He himself said that there are symptoms at the school, and that not only there are symptoms at the school, he can tell you what is the root cause of the symptoms at the school. But this time around, to suit the audience and whatever is the particular agenda, in 2023, they were manufactured.
Wow. So you said so let's I think we ought to, take that back in. So Dr. Martin on the clip last week, he mentioned about, manufactured things being manufactured, and you're saying here now that you have a report that the same Dr. Martin is saying there are things that are existing and causing harm to the people of Sebastian High School at that time.
Yes. You didn't misunderstand me.
For me,
you
as an
quite clearly.
educator, what is disheartening as an educator? Number of studies globally has proven that, being a teacher is one of the hardest jobs in the world. And we show up and we show out for the betterment of ourselves, our profession, and the nation's children. And to have teachers not feel safe in their working environment, as a teacher, that is hurtful. Whether you think it is so, whether it is manufactured or not, the voice of the teacher, the voice of the student, the voice of the parents should be considered in having and maintaining a decent working environment. One of the institutions Mrs. Morton referred to as the ILO. Right?
I touched the paper just when you touched it.
Yeah.
Because this is Dr. Ujita's report.
So let's hear from that
Dr.
report.
Ujita from the ILO, she has a preamble, key findings and so on. And she said, mind you, don't get me wrong, a lot of these things that I am talking about, let me put them into context. These are post-renovation, I'm not talking about the initial parts. This is after all of the $8-point-something million worth of work was done at the school. This is 2014. All of them are 2014. Dr. Yuka Ujita, 26 to 28 May 2014.
Because you did say that it started from 2011.
Around that time. Well, let me put it this way. That is the time when people began to put two and two together. But apparently all of these symptoms were being experienced in a little thing here and a little thing there. And, when people get sick, it's only when people begin talking to each other, they say, what? Wait, no. And they begin to say, something sounds like
what's
a
the commonality?
cluster. Yes.
We don't live together, but what do we
The only thing
share?
we have in common is Sebastian High School. But let's use 2011 as the point of departure for when we really started to, make things make sense. Anyway,
Yes.
Dr. Ujita, we go back. She spoke about all of the buildings and nice things, they painted up, she saw the renovations and so on. She said, however, tap water in the building had a very strong smell of sewage. This is the ILO representative. I felt irritation in my eyes at the storage room of the chemistry lab. In several rooms, and she put in brackets, new, because she wanted to point out that with all the work that you all have done, the new painting of the ceilings was peeling and falling off. So what's causing that? You all just did a lot of work here, right? By the way, it took us 6 months to get this report, 6 months. Because apparently, I'm speculating here, the lady did say that she was having these symptoms. We had to fight tooth and nail to get this report. It was only after we did our own investigations and found out from the ILO. By the way, we sent that report 6 months ago, and it was copied to all of the stakeholders who think. And we went to them with evidence. We went to the authorities with evidence. You all have the report, because they kept saying they have not received the report. And when we went to them with evidence that we knew that they had received the report, grudgingly, we got a copy of the report. And when we began reading the report, we said, oh, it makes sense now why the report wasn't forthcoming. Now, I want to talk about the sewer gases. Let's talk about the sewer gases. But before I get into that, remember that I told you that Dr. Martin wrote in his report that the symptoms basically were there. They're not manufactured. He said in his report that not only are there symptoms, but he could tell you why there are symptoms. That is his report. Later, around November of 2014, we had a meeting at the Washington Archibald High School. The Bastia had to, because we couldn't use this space and so on anymore. Bastia, we had to move out. And at that gathering, the PTA gathering, Dr. Martin said, those words are in my head. The symptoms being reported by the students and teachers from the Bastia High School are real and are directly connected to conditions at the school. For emphasis, he said, let me reiterate. And he proceeded to repeat what he had said. The symptoms being reported by the students and teachers from the Bastia High School are real and they are directly connected to conditions at the school. But in 2023, Dr. Martin is saying that they are manufactured, right? So the question is, was he manufacturing then or is he manufacturing now? That is the dilemma that we have, that he has.
Okay,
right?
We have about 5 more minutes before we have our next segment. Okay. So I'm going to ask that, all the information. I know it's so much information.
It's a lot.
And if it is that we could center into whatever you want to focus in this last 5 minutes, because we have another segment.
Okay. The fact of the matter is that where the sewage is concerned, let me very quickly do a synopsis. Kariri came back in August of 2014. Between August 20th and 25th, they put down the equipment to test. And they did pick up that we had very, very high levels of hydrogen sulfide, and they identified where. So I'm going to show you all again that this is the report, overview of hydrogen sulfide. That is it here. I'm going to read very quickly. Right? While ambient air readings were generally below the detection limit of the equipment, occasional periods of positive detection lasting up to a few hours were recorded at the main entrance, French lab, chemistry labs, and integrated science lab locations. Higher 30-minute average concentrations of 282 parts per meter cube and 223 parts per meter cube were recorded at the integrated science and chemistry lab locations. I'm going to tell you why I emphasize those. Because they went on down below here to say, these detectable levels exceeded the Trinidad and Tobago Draft Environmental Management Authority's guideline of 30 parts per meter cube. And our readings were 280 and 223. Hydrogen sulfide causes burns and blisters and boils and hard boils and coughing and because the literature here that they sent to us listed out all of the symptoms. And they were just the exact symptoms that the Bastia High School students and teachers and so on were complaining about. As a matter of fact, they went on to say, following longer exposure to hydrogen sulfide, you can have pulmonary edema. That's water in your lungs. Okay? That's water in your lungs. So when you hear people belittling and saying that, oh, don't study them and they manufactured this and so on, it is cruel. It is inhumane. You do not laugh at people and people's suffering.
I think that is why Carl asked,
you're serious?
If you're serious, because he too would have heard about these reports, I'm sure, and asking, are you really serious? Giving him a chance to perhaps clarify if there's anything retract, yes.
He should retract and apologize.
I think the retraction
He should
is
retract and apologize. That's just my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion, right? But the thing is, I want to go back again to the arbitration panel and the work that they did, because the arbitration process was actually one that was suggested by the government of the day. And all parties jumped at it because we were tired of the back and forth and the impasse and, he say and counter accusation and thing. We said yes. And all of us, all parties agreed to abide by whatever the recommendation is. So if the recommendation had come back, that we have to stop Bastia High School. But luckily, as I said, people allowed their empathy, their compassion, the whole idea of people engagement, as I said, that one sentence that said, do not walk away with the delusion that is about the roof. Our citizens are saying to you that they are suffering. 16 plus medical practitioners have diagnosed real illnesses and have prescribed medications. People are taking sick and ambulance going up the school every minute. Why are we risking this? Right? So I'm hoping that I would have at least begun to clear the air on that manufactured word that was used. Very unfortunate.
And I think a discussion like this needs at least a part 2, because we have not even had the opportunity to have callers call in and ask questions. So I do, even before the segment ends, want to encourage you and welcome you to have a part 2 here at studio, so we could really go into more. You have uncovered a lot of things, but I think there's so much more.
There's plenty more. A lot more. The Bastia High School story has not been even half told, not even quarter told, right? Because the important thing for us was to make sure that we were removed from that site, because it was obvious that people were getting sick. No hoopla, no noise, no fighting, no carrying on. Just show some compassion. Just remember the humanity. Voltaire said, persons who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. And I think it was an atrocity that the Bastia High School students and teachers had to remain in that space for so long. The question is, what is going to happen now that we have this information? Because no new information has come to light that anything has changed at the site. And we know that there are plans to go and reconstruct, to build at the site. What new information does the government have? What new information do they have to bring to the nation to say that they are satisfied that what is in these reports, that has been cleared up, that has been cleaned up, that has been remedied? I haven't heard anything.
And not just the government, Miss Morton, it needs to be a consultative conversation, because as a practicing teacher, my voice is important. I think we need to move away from what the government says and let the dialogue be one of those who would be inhabiting the community. If it is my workspace, how I feel about it matters. If I'm an alumni, how I feel about it matters, because stakeholders in education is not just the government.
I hear you, but why I used that is that the government is proceeding. So I am glad to hear you say that, that there are persons out there who are going to sit with the government. Well, excuse me, why you think you're going up there to just be like that? Where's the consultative process? Why not allow us to go through these documents and to make up for... you said that nothing is really wrong up there, but why are we risking this if there are other spaces that we can use?
It's as though there is no consultation on such an important matter.
And I think teachers need care. I'm a teacher advocate, regardless of that is, I'm a teacher. We just work hard. Our voices deserve to be heard, and we deserve to be able to participate in conversations without judgment, without consequences, because a lot of persons who would have had things to say, a lot of us would have been afraid, because when, you get transfer here, you get this there, there's a consequence for voicing.
And I think what we have to, and I think Ms. Morton says it perfectly, and it is an ending point, is that there's so much behind the Bastia High School, yet the government is not having consultations as it relates to the Bastia High School before they have now made the decision to put the Bastia High School back where it is. And as she has indicated, there has been no change of report, no evidence that anything has been done since then to comfort persons that something they are now putting it back there now has solved any issue.
When we asked Kariri about that, their response was clear and simple. Let the precautionary principle apply. On the side of caution, because on page 48 again, I think whichever page, but it's a CAFA thing though, they said that in situations like this, the literature says you hardly ever will be able to find a definitive causative factor. So in those situations, the best you could do is try to clean it up. If it doesn't work, let the precautionary principle apply. I don't know what's going on up there. Take the people and the children them from up there.
And on that note, we're going to end it, and
Say thank you for coming.
Thank you
for being an advocate for teachers.
And of course, the invitation is out there. I know a lot of persons have a lot to want to hear about this topic even more. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad I was able to shed some light.
No problem.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Get the drive with Lucozade Energy. Buy Lucozade and enter for a chance to win the grand prize of a Toyota Hilux. Plus, win up to 500,000 instant prizes, including Fitbit watches, GoPros, earbuds, Amazon gift cards, and free Lucozade. To enter, buy one of the Lucozade Energy promo bottles and look under the cap for your code. Enter it online or send it via WhatsApp, see press, and social media for details. Buy, win, and get the drive with Lucozade Energy today. Lucozade, taste the energy.
It's 9:51. It's time for Fireproof, and we got the officer on deck. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, officer. Tell us the topic. We apologize. We had such a heated discussion this morning. I know Fireproof is usually at 9:30, but tell us the topic for today and what we're going into.
Yeah, I recognize it was indeed a hot topic. So
yes.
The fire officer just stepped in to cool things down
yes.
a bit.
Thank you,
I
Fire
understand.
Officer. Could you introduce yourself before?
Oh, yes. So my name is Deputy Fire Chief Timothy Martin, Acting Fire Chief. Deputy Fire Chiefs, rather, sorry. And today we just want to shed some light on a number of misconceptions that the general public may have regarding the fire services. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, like we said, in relation to misconceptions, social media is a big thing, and persons they tend to video everything. However, some of the comments that persons might pass regarding our way in which we do things, it's incorrect. So I'm just here to shed some light on in that regard. Now I want to share with the general public our mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And our mission statement of the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services is to protect and safeguard the lives and property of citizens and the general economy by preventing and reducing the dangers and effects of fires and explosions. Now, this mission statement, we have a moral obligation to live up to this mission statement. So this is not a mission statement that we take for granted. We hold the property of every individual, also the lives of every individual. We hold it dear, okay? So our main focus is to, as much as possible, try to save lives when lives are in danger, as well as save properties when properties are in danger, all right? Now, stemming out of a fire that we had recently, and there are a lot of different instances where persons would have said things, but this is the most recent. This is the most recent in regards to things that are being said. So on the 13th of October, we had a house fire up in the Lagweed area, and this came about around 9:08. So we received the call and we responded to that fire. Now we have 3 minutes. Let me reiterate again to the general public. We have 3 minutes in which to get ready. From the moment the call comes in and that bell is being pulled down.
Do you guys actually get it in 3 minutes? You practice drill so that you could be like down the fire pole in 3 minutes and geared up?
We do get it in 3 minutes. Most times it's even less than that. So on that
so you're
night,
fit.
On that night, yeah, of course, we have a gym attached to us. I mean, persons can do more effort in terms of working out, but yeah, for the most part, the guys and them are good in response. All right. So we took around 1 minute to respond to that call. Now let me emphasize regarding the 3 minutes. Now, no matter what we are doing, whether it is we are taking a rest or we're in the shower, as long as that bell goes down, we jump into action right away. Most persons, they even grab their gears, jump on the truck, and would have their gears being put on while the fire truck is in motion, you know. So we take response time very seriously. And like we say, we have turnout drills, as we will call them. We are, any time of the day, we'll just pull the bell just to see how the officers then would respond, to keep them on their toes. All right. So the crew responded to that fire. Given the time of the day, which is in the night, we know we have a rationing of water at this point in time.
So we're experiencing a drought, or we just rationing water?
We are in a drought situation.
Okay.
Granted, because of the hurricane season, you know, we have a bit more rainfall now. But for the most part, we have a water crisis within the federation, which we're hoping that will get rectified in short order. Now, the fire services, once we receive any calls around those times, we normally touch base on our counterpart, which is the RLB airport. When the airport is closed, the trucks and them are now a bit more free to come and assist in the event of any major fires happening. So that is one avenue that we turn to. Throughout the day, depending on the location, we will turn to another district, Sandy Point, Tabernacle. The other districts do the same in relation to those who work at Bastille. They would call upon us to assist them in where needs be. So we have that collaboration taking
with
place
the different firehouses?
With the different firehouses.
Okay, so there was a fire at Lagrit, and what were some of the negative things that were being said about?
Right.
Was the negative things being said about the country's resources or the fire response?
Mainly about the fire services, right? Mainly about the fire services. So,
what was the negative thing? What's the thing you're here to clarify?
I will highlight some of them. Now, the things that are being said is that the fire truck, you know, comes without water. So imagine we have a fire appliance that is supposed to be in a state of readiness to extinguish fires. And let's say we are dealing with just house fires, which is more serious fires, right? So we have a fire appliance within the station just sitting down, empty of water. And
is that true?
It's not true. Totally
so you all
not
always
true.
have like a lot of water.
Our fire tenders always having water. For the municipal district, right now the truck that we have is 750 gallons of water. Another truck that we have, but it is not in operation right now, it houses 1,000 gallons of water. So
that's
for
the big fancy truck?
For the municipal one.
What's municipal? That's a big and foreign word.
Municipal means those that run throughout the town and country. Okay. The aerodrome is strictly for the airport. The airport trucks, then they are way larger.
That's in case like a plane get catch on fire.
In case a plane crashes, they have to do whatever response on the airport. So those at the airport are very larger, and they hold 3,000 gallons of water. All right. So you can see the capacity of water that these trucks have. So our trucks don't leave our stations without water.
And you always have
water.
Okay.
Now, the thing about that the persons may not understand is the time frame in which one of those trucks can be emptied. Now, we go on a scene, and for a truck that holds 750 gallons or even 1,000 gallons of water, that truck can be emptied in less than 3 minutes because of the pump capabilities, etc. So we know we try as much as possible, the drivers and them, the pump operators and them know how to monitor the pump in terms of the output of water, so that we keep the water on hand as long as possible. All right. So that is one misconception that we need to get clear.
So you always have water. You did have water. However, the large amount of water that you have could be finished quickly.
Would have run out at some point in time.
So the water ran out. It's not that you didn't come with water.
We didn't come with water.
Okay, I'm not a fire person, but I watch a lot of fire, like TV series. So I'm watching like Station 19, and I really want to ask you, like, how is the kitchen in the fire station? Because when I watch fire series, I'm like, they're always cooking good food, you know, and I love food, so maybe I could become like a volunteer so I could get some food. But that's a different story.
All right.
So the water ran out. What is the procedure when the water run out?
So our procedure is the fire hydrants, they supplement water for us. So when we go out to a fire scene, our truck, the first thing we look for is a fire hydrant. You know, because we know we do not have an infinite amount of water. The water will run out at some point in time. We need to find a source to tap into, replenish that truck. So our source of water is the fire hydrant. But like I said, given the time of day, especially in the night when there is a water rationing type thing where water is sometimes turned off, then the pressure is really low in certain areas. We call upon other stations for backup. So yes,
So you are saying some very interesting things there, and I want us to be clear, because clarity is a form of kindness that we offer to our listeners, and when we are clear, we get to disrupt misunderstanding, and misunderstanding could be malicious or it could just be misunderstanding.
Right.
Because they ain't see no water, I ain't come in no water. How the Virgin getting on the water? Things now.
Of course, they would see water because our initial attack has to be from the fire truck. Right?
But you said something for me that is very scary, and very scary because I'm a single woman and I live alone, and suppose, you know, God forbid something happened, there's a fire in my house and the truck run out and water off. Like, water off seems to be a risk problem. It seems to be very dangerous.
It is something that we are facing, and until we get that remedied, then, like I say, we emphasize on having our neighboring stations come to assist.
And you guys are working diligently
Yes.
to address the water issue.
Of course it is.
To ensure the safety of the lives and the property of people in St. Kitts, because I think that is what we need to hear. Because when we see something and we get frightened, water turn off. I mean, water turn off and house burning down. Like the logic of it. Whatever you turn off water for, once no water there to solve a crisis, it becomes frightening.
Yes, and outside of the water, there are other things that you can do to keep your house safe, such as buying a fire extinguisher.
Where are you going to put it?
How many way are you going to put
It's
it?
not
You're gonna
cute.
install,
It's not cute for front room.
So we are talking about something that could potentially save your house from going
but it's not
totally engulfed in flames. So you're weighing the risk of something looking cute rather than protecting your home.
As should you? As should you, because in order to change behavior of a individual or society, you must understand the individual or society. And woman front room have to be cute, especially coming up to December. They're not putting a big fire thing in there, especially, and we know how to use it. How we gonna use it?
Right,
and then they ain't cute.
So then the fire department can always come and assist you in the knowledge of knowing how to use them. Maybe you can color the fire extinguisher pink to make it look cute for you. I don't know, but
I find you ragging on cute front room, and I'm sure there are lots of women listening to say, who must put that in the front room?
No, but ma'am,
do you have a wife?
We're talking about saving lives.
Do you have a wife?
No, I don't.
So you have a good girlfriend, and I sure you know she house look cute, and you're not putting a fire extinguisher in there.
Let us not stress on the cuteness, please.
But the cuteness of the fire, it can't match.
All right,
you don't see women.
Let us not stress on the cuteness, please. This is
but
something that could potentially save life.
How you gonna get it in the house?
Let's look at how you're gonna get a fire extinguisher. A fire extinguisher is something small and simple that you can.
But
walk
you
with.
know you don't control what goes in the front room. You can't even put on your shoes to go in there. She said put them off by the door. How you gonna bring in a fire extinguisher?
Let's not stress on that aspect. Whatever persons want to do it in their homes, they do in their homes. We are talking about having the general public be fire safety conscious.
Okay.
So if one individual do not want to be fire safety conscious within their home, that is for them. But let us go in the spectrum of the holistic view of the whole federation. All right. Thank you very much.
What else we could do?
All right. So now the misunderstanding of the urgency where the fire officers are concerned. The fire officers, they do their due diligence in terms of executing their duties to get a fire arrested and within quick time. So I was on scene, and
you had on like your gear, and so you had on that.
I had on what we call a BDU, a battle dress uniform.
Okay, because you could out the fire in that.
Well, if needs be, I would jump into action even still wearing these clothes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, there was an urgency within the unit that night. I mean, persons they did all they could to get that fire. First of all, I just want to say when they arrived on scene, the house was fully engulfed in flames at that point in time. In talking to some of the residents, even before the fire truck arrived, they would have heard some explosions, a series of explosions taking place. So it's not to say that when the fire appliance reached, when the fire officers them reached, there were very little fire. The whole house was engulfed in flames.
How come you all reached so late for the whole fire
Who
to be?
said we were late?
Is when I get the call?
Thank you very much.
But you have
one
to
of
say
the things, but you made a general statement. Why were we so late, right? See, it's where some of these misconceptions could be leaking in. Now, we like I tell you, we have 3 minutes to get ready, and within that night, the officers them took just about a minute to get out of the station.
He's a good leader.
So now, some of the things that we want to highlight to persons: don't try to extinguish a fire without calling the fire department. From the first instance that you recognize that there is a fire, you call the fire department. So at least you know we are on our way to assist you. You yourself know, after you already contacted us, if there is any little thing that you can do to protect your property further, then you can do that. All right. Now we
have about 2 more minutes.
All right. So our fire appliance, I just want to strongly emphasize this. It is always in a state of readiness. So our tools and equipment is always checked. We have what we call appliance check, and that is done twice a day.
Every day?
Twice a day, every day.
It's very good.
So one is at 9 a.m. in the morning when both shifts meets to hand over. We have that exchange. They go and they check the appliance, and then 7:25 in the night, then they go and they do that check again to make sure all the tools and equipments are in good working condition. So the first sign that let's say the jaws of life is not working properly, then the maintenance unit would then come in to rectify and remedy that problem right away. So our tools and appliances and equipment and the appliances is in good working condition.
Are always ready.
We are always
and
ready
reliable.
and willing and reliable as well. All right. Now, in terms of training, we are seeking training for our officers as well. You can never have too much of training. So training is always ongoing. We at the management level, we are always seeking areas to introduce new and fresh ideas, meeting up to the standards of the outside world as well. So we trying to keep our fire services on par to what's happening in the regional and international level.
You all have a social media manager?
We have a social media page, but we can use some work in that regard, I must say.
If it comes with free food, though, because I think that is one of the ways to meaningfully engage the public. Everybody is on the media. If you have social media campaigns about how to make your house fire-proof or fire-ready, that's one thing that could be done. If you offer me, some food from the kitchen, we could develop something.
Yes, so we're going to conclude this morning's program on a whole. I want to say thank you, Officer, Deputy Fire Chief Timothy Morton. And I want to say thank you to Michelina Mills, our guest host for this morning's Island Tea. I want to say thank you to the listeners, everyone. I want to say have a blessed, wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay fire-free.
All right.